Hi everyone, I'm happy to be back with this new video and I hope you are all well. And this video is going to be a little bit different from what I post usually. I wanted to share on a more personal level with you. I wanted to share the process I'm going through right now. And I've posted a text about this last week on social media where I explained what I was going through and in a more, let's say, vulnerable way. And I knew that I also had to do it in front of the camera, which is not easy. And there are many reasons for that. One of them is that it's very liberating for me to do that. And secondly, it's also important to notice that we spiritual teachers or guides or whatever we call ourselves, we are not different from you. We are also going through, difficult times, we are going through challenging times, and we are all one and the same in the end. We are all one, and we all have to go through these processes, which we call the process of ascension or the process of awakening. So it has been about a year now that there were a lot of family matters that were unearthed, and with that came a lot of injustice, a lot of betrayals and disappointments, and I've been in this process of really seeing all my past and all the identity that was formatted and around this past, so family, patterns, family karma, etc., slowly disintegrating completely, which of course is very uncomfortable for my ego. So the ego structures of my being are being completely disintegrated right now, and it has been very intense for the last past months. So basically what I'm going through is that some mornings I wake up and I feel immense joy, almost like bliss, and I might feel that for the whole day. I really feel it like vibrating in my entire body. It's very, very powerful. And sometimes the next day or the days that follow, I feel very low. I feel very sad, even in despair sometimes, or in a deep grief. And the way that I experience it is really in a very extreme way, so a lot of ups and downs, which is sometimes very difficult for me to navigate because I cannot know which day I'm going to be okay, which day I'm not going to be okay, and I still have to work and do what I have to do, and it's very challenging in that way. And also because I am a hypersensitive person, so I experience emotions in a very intense, extreme way. So when I'm feeling joy, I'm very joyful, and when I'm feeling sad, I'm really, really sad. And that's also, these two extremes of the emotional spectrum, which is kind of difficult to navigate and to find a balance between all of that. So what I wanted to share here in this video is really what I'm feeling very strongly what is happening right now, because it's true that usually I share everything I share with you, my teachings or my wisdom. It's always, from my own experience, what I've been through, but always when it has already, integrated completely, and I could really unravel all the wisdom and the positive things and teachings that I had from the process, and that's usually what I share with you. But now I really feel there's a kind of shift happening, and this shift is about also sharing the process we are in and not waiting for the process to be over to share the wisdom and the teachings, which is in a way very liberating for me to say, because it's really sharing it in a more authentic way and simply with what is happening currently in my being, and just sharing it with you as it is. And this is very different from what we have been taught or how we have been programmed, which is always, we have to have this kind of facade, this social facade, always showing our best, always, showing that we are all perfect and okay. And especially in the spiritual community, you know, when we are in front of, you know, on stage or in front of a camera or as a guide, a teacher, you know, sometimes we can really feel that there's this pressure to be really the perfect divine being, and that's totally false. You know, it's completely false. Of course, social media has accentuated that very strongly, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. It's really, you know, showing the best aspect of ourselves and not showing our true self, our true authentic self, which is, you know, very often very different from what we show outside. So I just want to close the gap between what is happening inside and what I show outside. Not that I was unauthentic before. I've always tried, you know, to be authentic with all of you since the beginning. But I always had, you know, in mind this kind of thing, yeah, okay, you can share that, but just wait until it has integrated and you feel better, and etc., etc. And this process that I'm in right now is very funny because it's something that really is quite long. It happens over, you know, a year, several months. And so, of course, if I wait till the end of the process, you know, what's the point? What's the point in sharing in like 6 months or whatever? I don't know when it's gonna, you know, stop exactly. Also, this process is ongoing. It's not going to stop. But what I mean is the kind of crisis. So what is really interesting with what is happening in this process, which I call the process of awakening, you know, the process of ascension that we are all going through right now. And it was also really interesting to see the comments when I posted on social media this text where a lot of people told me, you know, it's like the words you use is exactly what I'm going through. It's almost like I was speaking through you. So this also shows how we are all one and, you know, experiencing really all the same processes in the end on this planet collectively. And so what is really interesting is that through these extremes that I am experiencing emotionally, it really calls for going within. So I really felt this call to be in silence a lot and to just, you know, meditate with myself, meditate with all, you know, all the different aspects of myself. For the most part, there are unconscious also aspects that have emerged, you know, sometimes things that I thought were healed that are coming back because there are different layers to that. And it's true that I shared a video a couple of years ago called The Big Shift, where I was telling about also my personal story. And in that video, I was mentioning that, you know, my core wounds were abandonment and rejection. And in this process I'm right now, it's the wound of rejection that came very strongly. Again, I thought, you know, it was okay because I've worked so much on that, and, you know, for like 15 years or so. But there's always a deeper layer to it. And of course, when we talk about family patterns, family karma, and these wounds and traumas, of course, when all is unraveled, you know, as it isn't right now, other things are perceived. So what is really interesting is that when we go within, we can really feel more and more, that's what I'm feeling, more and more presence, and more and more awareness coming through. Which means that there is a form of detachment that is happening. Detachment of the, you know, the egoic identity. Detachment also towards the emotions, the extreme emotions I'm going through, which is also a key for hypersensitive people. So if you are a hypersensitive, let me tell you that I'm just beginning to understand how to manage that. Because if you're hypersensitive, you know that we are often kind of, you know, controlled by our emotions because they're so intense and we can't do anything about it. And, you know, I've been so, you know, people have pointed fingers at me, especially in my family, because I was hypersensitive, you know, always telling me you're a drama queen and you always, you know, exaggerate things and you always, you know, bring chaotic emotions in everything, but I can't. That was something that I couldn't control, you know, it was like the emotions were so strong. So this detachment is also towards these emotions. And what I feel is that this presence and awareness is kind of, really anchoring into my body more and more, which means that even though there is this, this automatic thoughts, patterns, emotions going on, because of course the ego is so afraid that everything is going to be, kind of disintegrated, I can still, have this distance, and during the day it also happens that I just watch what is happening, I just observe what is happening. And this ultimately also shows us that, of course, we're going through this kind of, this great awakening, but this great awakening triggers a lot of negative stuff, a lot of unconscious negative stuff in our being. And ultimately, of course, we call it growth, we call it evolution. But when we are experiencing it actually feels like stagnation, even regression, and ultimately death. And that is, of course, the path of awakening. So what I feel is that because we are feeling these very high vibrational states, such as joy, bliss, unconditional love, more and more, everything is very unraveled in our being, but on a very deep level. And that's very uncomfortable for the ego, of course. So I connected again with the part of me that was, this little Gabrielle that was feeling so rejected and feeling that she would never be accepted for who she is, that she was never good enough, that it triggered a lot of, fears again for me, a lot of doubts. There was also a lot of self-deprecation, even though, through the achievements I have, it's almost like nothing existed anymore. So it really surprised me in that way, and I was not expecting to experience that again. And of course, just to say a word about these family issues, I'm not going to go into detail, but the family house has been sold. There's a lot of injustice, a lot of betrayals, and just not following the will of my grandmother going on there. And I had a very, very strong bond with my grandmother because she took care of me when I was a very young child. She's almost like a second mother to me. She died a few years ago, and that house that I stayed in with her was really like a refuge for me. It was really my comfort zone, my comfort, space. And, my inner child, every time she feels unsafe, she always went to the garden of that house to feel safe again. And now this house is no more. Everything is disappearing, all the past, everything I could still cling on to is taken away from me, from, what belongs to the past and my past identity. So of course, I feel what I'm feeling is pretty normal, I guess, in this process. And what I just wanted to say is that I really feel that we are now entering this new paradigm where it's really important to embrace our vulnerability and to be able to have the courage to show it to others, because we are all vulnerable. We are all going through some shit right now. So it's okay, you don't have to pretend to be someone you are not. And I also feel that vulnerability is actually the new strength in the new paradigm. That's what really we are going to experience more when this new earth is, emerging. And it's all about, dropping the mask in the end. So dropping that false sense of self, that false identity that we show to others, that we thought was, acceptable for others, and just showing our raw, authentic self to others. And that's extremely courageous to do that. So what I feel is that my work is going to change, because I'm going through a lot of major changes in my life right now. I have a lot of projects for the future. I still don't know exactly how they will manifest, but I have a lot of projects going on. I also feel that the path of the awakening is also accepting that we are on a road in the dark. We are moving forward and we don't know towards what exactly. It's like moving and walking into the unknown. And I'm just really grateful, and I just wanted to mention that for all the people who follow me, all of you, my beautiful community, for your messages, for your support, for your love. And you are the reason why I continue to do this work and to share with you. You know, I just really have a lot of pleasure of sharing all my transmissions through these videos, through my website, through social media, etc. And I hope that also for my international community, other things will emerge in the future, and I have a lot of exciting plans ahead. So I really, for myself, for my part, I really trust the universe. I really trust this process. I trust that the universe is taking me on a much higher level right now, even though, you know, when you step into a new consciousness, a higher consciousness, it's, you know, challenging, but it's for the good. And I'm sure that all my wildest dreams are going to come true, and even beyond my wildest dreams. So I just wanted to tell you that I love you all, and whatever you are going through right now, we are in the same boat. We are all going through this process. And if you want to share in a, you know, authentic way also what you are experiencing, just leave a comment below, and I will read your comments with great joy as well. Take care and see you soon. Satnam.